Mental Health Matters Thursday. Behavioral change consultant Johanse Ayodike joins me live on set, and today's topic, an interesting one. He simply says, don't start hot and sweaty. We always hear that particular phrase, but let's expand on that development this morning. Johanse, great to see you, man. Good morning.
Good morning, Jason. Good morning to everyone viewing.
So, don't start hot and sweaty. You know, you hear that all the time. It could be interpreted so many different ways. What's the direction this morning?
A lot of times when we have a new person, a new scenario, anything we approach new, we do the most, right? We put our quote-unquote best foot forward, and sometimes we can't maintain it. And that's where the problem comes in. So it could be, let's just say, even you're approaching education. I want to do 10 courses. But then you realize I could only do 2 right now. So you end up falling off. You end up building mistrust with yourself or others, or you even end up in a situation where it's an illusion.
How does one curb that level of enthusiasm? Because again, you know, something new, you're excited, you really want to put your best foot forward. I mean, it's like running a long distance race. Sometimes you start off at a pace, clearly you can't maintain it, but at least you want to, you know, cameras there, people are wrong. You can't start off slow and half dead. You want to say you have to, you know, you're out there, and then I guess somewhere as the race, as you into that progress, just like life, you realize, oh, I can't really maintain this particular pace, especially if you're not working out, especially if you don't have the level of fitness or endurance.
Right. What you said there, starting off, because you have cameras and people around. So essentially what you're saying is that you may be doing it for somebody or trying to please someone. And that is a major error. And I mean, I myself have been guilty of this in terms of doing things for optics. And the truth is that that's not really a good reflection or the true reflection of who you are, because if you start off hot and sweaty, like use the race, and you look good and you start off good and everybody see that, and then you come last, or you can't even make the race because you start off too hot and sweaty, then that don't even make sense.
So let me ask you now, let me put a nice little twist on it. Is it better to start off hot and sweaty and probably not make it over the line compared to not even starting at all?
No, and let me tell you why. Because then there's an illusion, right? You only look like you're doing something, but you're not really doing it. I remember once in secondary school, there was a sports day, and we had a run around the savannah. And I remember people shoot off. I myself shoot off. I remember it had this one person. They wasn't slow, but they looked like they're moving slow. They're not as fast as everybody else. And this person ended up winning because he kept a steady pace. And I never forgot that, because I realized it's a good lesson for life. Whether it is relationships, because let's say you start off hot and sweaty in a relationship. You give the woman 10, 20, 100 flowers, but then you can't maintain the 100 flowers. You give this person all the effort. You're cooking for me every day, but then you can't maintain that throughout the relationship. And I've learned this even in my relationship. I remember my wife telling me it's better you give 1 flower a month. And people might say it was only 1 flower you could afford. It may not be a matter of afford, but if you could give 1 flower for 20 years, it's better than giving a whole 100 flowers and then you can't do it again.
So walk me through now that process of that self-reflection. You always speak about authenticity, being in tune with self, because again, there is that level of excitement when something is new. You're over the moon, you're enthusiastic. There is a level of electricity, and you really sometimes want to step out with your very best, especially in relationships. I'm glad you brought that particular example to the table. How does one really peg it back a little bit, take a deep breath, and not make this particular error? Because I take it's a kind of error to start off hot and sweaty and not be able to maintain it.
Yes. One is, be honest about the excitement. Nothing wrong with the excitement. You felt it, I felt the excitement. You just want to do. So nothing wrong with that. So accept yourself first. Then, and this might be the harder part, have a plan or even talk to somebody. I know myself sometimes in the excitement, I don't want to plan because I just want to do. I am somebody just like to do, and I've fell into that trap also of just putting it out and then can't maintain. But I'm realizing more and more one, speaking to someone about it, even especially if it's a person who you're hot and sweaty about or doing the venture with, and then making a plan. So now you get to see it, and then you could actually say, okay, well, I'm excited, but how this could last for the next year, 2 years, 5 years, etc.
What about in the workplace where sometimes you come in, you're enthusiastic, you want to be this beacon of change, you want to be this disruptor. Yeah, you start off hot and sweaty, and sometimes people are around you saying, hey, take it down. There's not the work culture here. You know, we finish at 4. This no overtime. We kind of going the extra mile. No, we take 2 hours lunch here. You're trying to put us up. How does one negotiate and navigate that kind of work environment and space?
Face the reality of the space, because you come in hot and sweaty or excited to make change or disrupt, but you're reaching to something, and this is the reality of it. I would say still do your best. If you think that you don't want to take lunch and you want to work 3 lunch, do that. If the culture then rejects you, then so be it. But it's better for the culture to reject you than you become part of the culture and you become something actually that you don't want to be.
Mm-hmm. Let's pitch it now to families, you know, new parents, enthusiastic, happy, you know, but when the reality of the first couple of months, especially with a newborn, you know, the sleepless nights, and sometimes somebody might just, you know, they might need a little pause, and especially if, I mean, granted, the best way we always know is to have that support system, but for those who are doing it sometimes by themselves, or if the support system is not really stepping up, all of a sudden they just can't make. How does one, I guess, even start that kind of conversation, especially with newborns, first-time parents?
Going back to being honest. Well, first I'll say with pre-plan, especially with a child, it's better to be over-prepared. Have too many things for the child, so at least you have that covered or over-covered. But then when you reach in the process and realize, okay, I had the concept of it first, but now there's the practical applications. If you're struggling, say that, because even if there's some shame of God, you know, I don't know how to care for my own child properly, I don't know what to do, it's better you ask than you end up making a mistake. And the mistake don't have to be something detrimental immediately, but it could have long-term ramifications. So it's better to ask that question.
Through your experience, you know, as a Trinbagonian, do you think we that's part of our fabric, our cultural DNA, you know, to just be hot and sweaty, start things and not, because I mean, I look at sometimes the buildings. I look at how we maintain buildings in this country. Beautiful buildings. I mean, granted, I'm seeing Napa got a nice little fix-up recently and stuff, but I went to do a function at Napa last year, and there were frogs in the fountain, you know, you want to say, and it hurt my boy. It hurt my feelings to see big crap, ribbit, backstroke and front stroke, where the fountain's supposed to be, that, you know, shooting out the water. I mean, it's at that point I was saying, like, they're not power washing the building, but I must say, recently, on a level, they step it up. Somebody called somebody, and I guess, you know, some adjustments were made. But I'm looking at maintenance, hot and sweaty. We had a fountain down by the waterfront. That fountain not working anymore. I mean, I remember what the promenade was when it first came out. You remember the beauty of the promenade? Mm-hmm. I mean, granted, we the people too, I can't really blame powers that be all the time, because we the people too are the ones sometimes that really do take care of our facilities, and we run it down to the ground. So is this part of our cultural DNA?
Unfortunately, yes. And I'm glad you brought it up, because when we're thinking about it, it's good to face it on hand, because when we're taking care of our mental health, as individuals and as a nation, as collectively, it's good to face our inconsistencies and our shortcomings, because it have many things, many buildings that we create beautiful, as you say, but we don't maintain it. And thinking about even the why, a lot of times, and I could be wrong about this, but we like to show. It's a show first. So it look like, hey, I put up a building, I do X, Y, Z, and it's a nice show. And even if I bring it back to us personally, being hot and sweaty, you put on a show first for the person that you like. You put on a show first for that project. You put on a show for the cameras if you now start running. And realizing more and more, a show could end up being an illusion. Because you could say, well, I put up this building, but then the building run down. So it don't really make sense in the long run.
I'll give you the final say on this one because it's a most interesting topic. Again, TNT, do start hot and sweaty if the intention is not long term. But again, you want to say it's your final say.
When you're starting up something, it's good to be enthusiastic and excited, but don't let the enthusiasm and excitement make you stray from exactly what you want, and don't maintain consistency. Because even though life is not easy, it's really not that hard. Thank you for listening.
Behavioral change consultant Johanse Arodike touching base with us every Thursday. Always a very interesting topic, some nuggets to take with us to help in terms of self-development and just how we navigate this journey called life. We take a pause and we come back. World Kidney Day. Details after the break, a very important conversation. And then remember, from 7:30, your morning shot with Ian Wason. Sports in-depth analysis from 7:30. But up next, details concerning World Kidney Day.